Hey, are you ready for Honda's latest offering? Their plans are to put the Africa Twin motor into a cruiser. Will it truly be the cruiser to beat all cruisers? Let's find out. Welcome to Sixes Overdrive, everybody. Today, I would just like to, before we even get started, I'd like to invite you to share, like, comment on the video. I'll get back to you, I promise, whether you agree or disagree with me. I will get back to you. And of course, hit the bell button and subscribe so you can be notified about future videos. Guys, today we're gonna see if Honda hit a home run or just got beanballed and got to take a base. Because I wanna get into all these specs and everything, but I think I'd like to do that at home because in this frosty tundra right now, yeah, it's about minus 15. So let's get in the car and go home, and we'll do this in my garage around my motorbike. Whew, that's a lot better. Nice and warm in here. I've got the heater going. But I wanted to get down and talk about the Honda Rebel 1100 today and whether or not it's going to be the next generation and take on a whole new path, or if they stayed with status quo for cruisers, which you guys know me a little bit. I'm a little bit of an anti-cruiser guy. Well, first off, let's say that the Honda Rebel has been around for a long time, since 1985. I'm on the Rebel, feeling happy, feeling free. 1985, guys, that's a year before I graduated. That's a long time to carry a bike line. It's changed quite a bit, especially recently. A few years ago, they updated everything on it. Now they've got that 300cc, 500cc. And now they're looking to add an 1100cc. And that bike in the Africa Twin, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just pulling numbers out of the air, but it should be in the 100 horsepower range, and it's a twin. It was a nice torquey engine. I'm excited to see what this is about. This bike, when they first released the new shots of it and everything, I was excited. So this Honda Rebel is supposed to be the most sophisticated Rebel ever, as it says in Honda's press releases. But let me tell you, that's not reaching for much, because the other bikes were just beginner bikes. They didn't really have a whole lot of sophistication or technology or handling or braking or anything. They were basic models, very inexpensive for a beginner rider to get into. And now they're going with this 1100cc. Are they going to be able to keep that same niche? Or are they going for something completely different? So just to keep things on the non-sophisticated side,
without the invention of the horn or the traffic light.
I know they're talking about all the new tech that they have and everything, but to keep it a little bit dumbed down, they're putting in a heavier flywheel in this motor. That should slow things down a little bit from the Africa Twin, which was a pretty decent, fun motor. I realize one's made for dirt, one's made for the street, two different platforms, but they're doing it so it feels more like a traditional cruiser. I really think Honda's missing the boat if that's what they're going for, as a traditional cruiser. But that's what they did. They even made it a little bit rougher so it felt more like a traditional cruiser. So to me, taking the power and making it more like a cruiser is the equivalent of saying we slowed down the engine. And that's not what they need. They need some excitement in this bike. It looks like a pretty cool bike. When you look at the profile, it's a stripped down, bare bones, kind of like a Harley Davidson Sportster 1200. It looks pretty cool. I like it. It's got a real retro look to it. Truthfully, why are you putting a bigger motor in if you just want to slow the bike down? Make it quick, make it fast, make it exciting, make it something everybody talks about. You see, to me, I might not like cruisers in the generic sense of the word, but I was really excited by the stripped down look of this bike. It reminded me of my XSR 900 and things like the DFL from Ducati. I was thinking maybe, just maybe Honda, who have a reputation, by the way, for putting out really unique bikes. They're very famous for doing this and doing things like the dual clutchless transmission or whatever, DCT. They're innovators. They could have pulled this off. So to slow down the engine already, it seems like we're taking a step backwards from Honda's prestigious position of being able to create something new and cool. This is a step backwards from that. It's like they're taking this great engine and they're making it worse. so that they can fit into a niche that's already established. Like I said before, they have a dual clutch transmission, so that's the only real technological feat I can see here, is a completely clutchless transmission that you can shift with either the handlebars, or you can just leave it in automatic, which they say is really good for people who want to drive around town and don't want to shift gears. Personally, what I would have done was I would have upped the power of that Africa Twin, and I would have put in speed shifters instead of a clutchless transmission. I would have the clutch to take off at the stoplight. That actually makes it better for maneuvering in parking lots, having that clutch and everything instead of the on and off of an automatic transmission. I would have had that, would have saved a whole bunch of weight. I would have saved $700 US. $700 US, you know what that is in Canadian? It's got to be, just off the top of my head, it's got to be $4,000 to $50,000. I don't know, it's a lot. We're quite unfortunate with our exchange rate here. Now, some of the new tech that they're putting on the bike is fairly important to stay up to date, and that's they have an electronics package. So they have traction control and ABS, which I personally think are really important to have on motorbikes this day, especially when you're getting up to the 1000cc range. What they do also have is rider modes, which is kind of keeping up with everybody. I don't blame them for putting it in there, but I find it really not that beneficial. Rider modes, you seem to set it the day you buy the bike, and after that you never really play around with it very much. So it's an extra cost I don't think you need. I'd be happy if they just put traction control and ABS and then be done with it. Now, one thing that they did add was the cruise control. Cruise control, can you believe it?
Hey, Ron, who's driving? Oh, it's okay. It's on cruise control.
Now, that is absolutely phenomenal. That's going to be a life-saving feature. I just got it on my Tracer GT, and we've done a couple bike trips on it now, and it is a great, great thing, especially for long straight trips. Now, the only thing is, this bike puts cruise control as standard equipment. Brilliant move, Honda. Way to go. Knocked it out of the park there. And then they put a 16-liter tank on, which is just a hair bigger than the XSR, which I've told you before, if you baby it, like really baby it, you can get 300 kilometers out of it. But if you're riding aggressively and stuff, you're down in the 240, 230. And, it's just not that good for traveling. And you can get saddlebags and you can get windscreens and everything for the Honda Rebel 1100. And then they put the tiny little tank on 1100cc, 500-pound bike. You're killing me, Honda. You're killing me. Now, if you guys think I've been negative up to now, hold on to your hats, because we're going to get into the suspension, which is to say they put suspension on the bike. But, well under 5 inches of travel on both ends, and the cheapest stuff they could find. I'm sure they've got those little reservoirs like they did on the Bolt a little while ago. But those, it's a cheap suspension system. There's guys driving the bikes already, and they're talking about it bottoming out and stuff like that. Why wouldn't you put a half-decent suspension on this thing and blow the Harley-Davidson 1200s out of the water? Everybody knows they have bad suspension. You're going to get a Harley rider. He's going to buy that no matter what. So why not differentiate yourself and pull ahead of the competition in this area? You could have a great handling bike by just putting an upgraded suspension. Even something like what this XSR 900 has is going to be better than what the Honda Rebel 1100 is sporting. We'll have to watch the reviews, but I really think they failed in this category. I might even drive this bike for you this summer, but as of this moment, I'm not excited to. I'm not excited to at all. Next is a brake. Again, they put brakes on. Congratulations. Single rotor 330 mil. It's typical cruiser fodder. It's not going to slow you down like these brakes do. These aren't expensive brakes that they put on these XSRs and they put on the Bonnevilles and different bikes like that. But they're a heck of a lot better than a single 4-piston 330 mil. That's cruiser bike again, guys. You're not going to want to push the bike with those brakes on it. It's just plain and simple. Mind you, the bike, it's not made to push. Clearly, we're seeing, after everything I put up here, everything points to them dumbing down this bike to make it match a Sportster. But the suspension, that's killing me. Suspension and brakes, the two biggest parts of the bike. Now, let's talk about the cornering clearance. Now, a couple of years ago when the DFL came out, they were bragging about the 40-degree lean angle into the corner, and the Honda would, you know, with that motor and everything, might be a little bit sporty, right? But I guess because they're putting out crappy brakes and crappy suspension, they decided to lower cornering clearances as well. They say they're better than a typical cruiser, but so far all the tests, all the riders are scraping body parts down pegs and whatever else. It doesn't have enough cornering clearance, and I think that any average rider with any kind of experience, go to the mountains, ride this bike, and it's going to be all the time, getting your peg feelers worn down. They could have done so much more, just lifted up the pegs a bit, maybe add an inch of suspension or even half an inch of suspension on the front and back, because this bike's really low. Like, I think it's somewhere around the 23.5 inches. They could have boosted up that cornering clearance, and wow, you'd have yourself a little sporty bike if you had dual piston calipers and a half decent, just a step up. I'm not talking about Öhlins here, just a little step up. The weight, I'm not going to fault it on the weight category. They got this thing down with the regular shifting bike, not the DCT. The regular shifting bike is well under 500 pounds, 487. 487 and 509 for the DCT, which is pretty good. My sport touring bike, the Tracer 900 GT, that weighs in right around, and that's a way bigger tank. That weighs in about 460, I think. So you're in the right category. Any of the cruisers are actually weighing in quite a bit heavier than that. Cruisers are up around the 600 pounds a lot of times. So they did good there. I'm not going to fault them with that. They got a chromoly frame and everything. It's nothing, at least I think. You might want to correct me on that. I haven't looked that up. I don't think it's an aluminum frame or anything, but I think it's a steel frame. And for that kind of bike with an 1100cc motor, 500 pounds isn't bad. It's not revolutionary, but it's not bad. Now the last, but one of the most important, is the price of the bike. The price of the bike is going to fall in right around where this XSR 900 is, the Kawasaki RS, and you know, it's going to be a little bit below some of the cruisers, but the other cruisers have a few more chrome bits and stuff like that. This one's fairly stripped down. It's $12,995 Canadian. US dollars, that's $99.95. They've got the bike under $10,000. That seems to be a very popular thing. I thought originally it was going to be around the $10,000 mark Canadian. And then when I found out it was $10,000 American, which should equate to about $12,500, and then it was $12,900 plus freight and prep, I'd buy something more exciting. But I guess if you're a cruiser guy, and believe me, I don't have anything against cruisers and the guys that have them. I just think it's a philosophy that the manufacturers, they cater to a look and a style of a bike, and they just shortchange everybody doing that and then charge them the same amount for some bikes that are truly more exciting, faster, quicker, lighter, all that. For some reason that happens. And I know there's a lot of cruiser fans, and you guys are gonna absolutely roast me in the comments below, which I encourage you to do, by the way. Write them down below. I'll reply back to them, even if you think I'm an idiot or whatever. Don't worry about it. I got tough skin. So with that price, you're going to be looking at a head-to-head shot with a Sportster 1200. There's some other bikes here. I'll list them. I'll show you pictures of the different bikes and on the websites and what you can buy them for. Honda runs a little bit higher than the other guys do by the time you figure out your out-the-door price. But it's Honda. They got good resale. They're a good company. Fairly reliable bikes, just like any Japanese bike, but a lot of times a little bit better fit and finish and stuff than some of the other guys. It should be a decent bike for the price in its category, if that's what you want, is, you know, that slower kind of bare bones looking bike, and you're the guy that says, I don't want a Harley Davidson, because I'm sure Harley looked at the Sportster 1200 and that was the target that they wanted to get to. We want to do at least what the Sportster can do. And I have no doubt that it's going to handle better than a Sportster, and that it's going to weigh less than a Sportster and all that stuff. It's going to outperform a Sportster, but not by very much, not enough for some Harley guy to switch over to a Honda. There's a certain enigma around that, guys, and this isn't going to draw them away. They needed to distance themselves away from the typical cruiser, in my opinion, and go to something exciting, more like this XSR 900. Because believe me, it's cruisers, no matter what they tell you, they are not more comfortable. It's just a lie. Any sport touring bike or anything like this matches a cruiser for going long distances and everything. Don't let anybody tell you any difference. A matter of fact, when you're sitting like this and your tailbone's like this, it causes a lot of back problems. So guys, don't let people, if I can tell you anything, don't go by the old theory that the cruisers are the most comfortable bikes. They're not. They are absolutely not. I've ridden both. I've owned both. Cruisers are not the most comfortable bikes in the world. They're more comfortable than a sport bike, and that's about it. So overall, you know, my summation, and you've heard it all the way through this preview, is that they just left a lot on the table, and they could have really separated themselves from the typical cruiser market and applied to a whole different range of riders they could have attracted to them. Exciting and daring and that raw vintage look kind of thing. They could have done so much better and had a really good handling bike. And I think they should have been able to keep it in the same price range because there's plenty of other bikes in that range. There's three main things that would have made this bike great, and that's the cornering clearance, the brakes, and the suspension. After that, I think the motor's going to be good, and I think the overall package is going to be good for a cruiser. But I don't think it'll even run away with the award for Best Cruiser of the Year or anything like that. But tell me what you think down below. I'm just sitting here ragging on them, and guys, I do like Honda, I really do. But you want me to tell you the truth about what I think. And we'll try to ride it this year and see if it comes out looking a lot better than what I said it did. But I'm not holding my breath for a glowing review on this bike. It might just pass under a cruiser category. That's about it. Well guys, that's about all I have for slagging the Honda 1100, and I really don't think it's going to be that bad, but I just think they missed a boat, and I'm a little bit frustrated. So if you liked what you see, remember to share, like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, I'm always there to take your comments, and I'll always get back to you as soon as I can. And remember to hit the subscribe bell so you get notified of videos in the future. This is Six's Overdrive, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Well, guys, I was just editing this, and I forgot to mention my good friend Joe Buchert, who made me this. So I thought I'd put it in the outro. Isn't that cool, guys? 3D printed, specially for me. I feel so special. What a good guy, though. I'm going to find a place to put this. I don't really have a studio, but I'm going to find somewhere where this is... I really like this. This is so cool. I'm going to find a place to put this so it's on the rest of my videos.